Yo, what is up, y'all? It's Cone back here again tonight with another episode of After the Buzzer, the show where I recap the NBA games from the night. Before we get into it, I do want to kind of give my opinion on the couple pieces of NBA news that dropped today. First one, of course, was the Cam Reddish trade going from the Hawks to the Knicks alongside Solomon Hill, who's out for the season, so that doesn't mean too much. But the Hawks getting back Kevin Knox and a protected first round pick that after some protections will probably end up being a late first or a second round pick. So immediate reaction for the Knicks side of things, I think this is great. They get an offensive guy who can kind of create his own shot, which they desperately need. He also plays solid defense for Coach Tom Thibodeau's system. You only gave up Kevin Knox and a protected first, which that doesn't mean much in the large scale of things. If Cam Reddish isn't the player that you were hoping for, you let him walk in restricted free agency, and if he is, then you pay him. Simple as that. For the Hawks, I thought maybe they could have gotten more, but, this is the first of probably a lot of moves for a Hawks team that needs a big revamp, so I'm not going to judge them too harshly on it. They did get a pick back, so I guess I'll give them an incomplete for now in terms of grading. Second piece of news was that Bol being traded from the Nuggets to the Pistons is no longer happening because he failed his physical, so that is very awkward for everyone involved. Those are the two pieces of news. They weren't big enough to make a full video on, so I thought I'd throw them here at the beginning. But as we get into the games, first thing, leave a like and subscribe. The first game that I want to talk about, of course, you see it in the thumbnail, you see it in the title, is I want to talk about the Milwaukee Bucks and the Golden State Warriors. Coming into this game, I was super excited for it. It could be an NBA Finals preview. You've got the Milwaukee Bucks, reigning NBA champions, on one side with Giannis Antetokounmpo, multiple-time MVP, a Defensive Player of the Year, the reigning Finals MVP, going up against the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry. For most of the season, he's been the MVP favorite, but as he's really come back down to earth recently, playing super inconsistently, the Golden State Warriors have kind of followed, and so it felt like a game where it's like, okay, this is a big matchup for both teams. It could be a big win for the Milwaukee Bucks. It could be a way for them to kind of make a statement win, and for the Golden State Warriors, this could be their chance to show like, hey, we're not falling off, we're fine. Both teams missing some important players on each side. Milwaukee Bucks missing Drew Holiday, Warriors missing Draymond Green, and the Bucks absolutely stomped them. Like it wasn't even close. This game was over after the first half. The Warriors were down by 40 after the first half. To put it in perspective, in the first half, they scored 38 points, which is the same amount of points that the Thunder scored tonight in the first quarter of their game. And the Thunder are statistically the worst offense in the NBA. So not a great night offensively for the Golden State Warriors. Their shots just were not falling. Of course, like I mentioned, Steph Curry continues to play inconsistently, only 12 points. Klay Thompson is still working his way back into things, but like Jordan Poole had 9. You had 12 from Steph Curry. You only had 8 from Otto Porter Jr., 0 from Bjelica. It just was an awful game offensively for the Golden State Warriors, and even worse defensively. Without Draymond Green there, they had no answer for Giannis. They couldn't stop Chris Middleton. Bobby Portis put up 20 and hit a little shimmy on them at halftime. It was just a absolute routing in every single sense of the word. And as I'm watching this game, and as I've been watching kind of the Bucks this season, I've kind of come to a conclusion where, as we look at the MVP race, as I mentioned, Steph Curry for the while was kind of the prohibitive favorite. He was the guy where it was like at the beginning of the year, it was like, oh, Steph's going to win this thing. He was great last year. The Warriors are a much better team now. He's going to go ahead and run away with it. But now, as the Warriors kind of come back down to earth and Steph Curry kind of continues to play inconsistently, and you look at the other candidates, I think there's about like 7 or 8 guys that come to the top of my head right off the bat that I can think of that are pretty good candidates. You've got Steph Curry, of course, you've got Jokic, you've got LeBron, you've got Joel Embiid, you've got Kevin Durant, DeMar DeRozan, and you could talk about like even like a John Morant or something. And then there's Giannis. And that last guy, Giannis, is my MVP frontrunner as of right now. And I think, to be honest, he should be the MVP frontrunner across the board. What Giannis has been doing this season, dominating, like in this game, Giannis really didn't even need to play in the second half. He was so dominant in the first half, he really didn't even need to come back in. He had over half the Warriors' points by himself in the first quarter. Like he was dominating them. It was ridiculous, offensively, defensively. Just over the course of the full season, Giannis puts up these ridiculous stat lines that don't even feel like they're absurd anymore. They feel like they're super normal for what Giannis continues to do. Like tonight, 30, 12, and 11 in 30 minutes. Feels normal. It doesn't feel like it's something special anymore because he has really kind of made dominance normal. And there have been a lot of players in NBA history that have done this. He's far from the first one, but I don't want to, and I don't want whoever's watching this video, don't kind of normalize what Giannis is doing. What Giannis does is not normal. It is far from normal. And he continues to be one of the greatest players to ever play this game. I'm not saying he's like a top 10 player of all time, but Giannis is a generational, very special talent. And the things that he does every single night, especially this season as we're watching and talking about this year's MVP race, he deserves to be the front runner. He is playing a defensive player of the year caliber play. I think him and Draymond are probably my two leaders right now. You could throw Gobert in there as well, but Giannis is right there in the conversation. He's putting up like 30 point per game, like double doubles, triple doubles almost every single night. It feels like he can get them. His playmaking has improved drastically. This Bucks team has dealt with a ton of injuries and COVID-related issues as well, and they really haven't been fully healthy for many games this season. Despite that, they are right there. I think they're the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference right now after tonight's win. They're dominating. They look absolutely primed to make another run, and I think Giannis winning those 2 MVPs, and it just kind of got normalized what he is doing, and it is not normal whatsoever. Giannis is dominating on a level even far beyond what he's ever done before. His offensive repertoire continues to expand, his ability to kind of hit pull-up mid-ranges, his footwork looks even better around the basket. Everything that Giannis is doing, he just continues to get better. And that is ridiculous for a player that at the end of this past offseason, or at the end of the NBA Finals, and even now, you could absolutely say that Giannis is the best player in the world, 100%. That's something that when I watch him play, very often I'm like, is there anybody that's better than this guy? Because what I see him doing, I'm like, I don't know how he's not the best player in the world on some given nights. And the fact that he took that, won his finals MVP, and he could have just like plateaued. That could have been it. He could have won that finals MVP, stayed at the same skill level that he's always been, and no one would have complained. I wouldn't have complained because he just won a finals MVP, arguably the best player in the world. And yet, in the offseason, he got better. He improved his playmaking. He improved his handle. He improved his ability to shoot at many different spots on the court. His footwork looks better. His defense continues to look phenomenal. Giannis continues to work hard and get better, and it shows in these games. It shows in the way the Bucks get better and better and better, and Giannis is deserving of that recognition for the way that he's played. He won 2 of the last 3 MVPs, and right now he deserves a 3rd out of the last 4. He is dominating every aspect of the game, and because it's so normal, people aren't talking about it enough. What he's doing is not normal. Giannis is the MVP as of right now. He might even be the best player in the world. I don't know. Earlier in the season, I said Steph Curry was the best player in the world. I was like, okay, I'm ready to admit it. And as soon as I said that, he entered his big slump. So now I'm not going to even say it because I don't want to jinx Giannis. I enjoy watching Giannis so much. He's one of my favorite players in the league, period. And so I'm not going to jinx him. I'm not going to jinx anybody. I'll just stop doing that. But Giannis deserves the MVP right now. The way that he's played, the way that he's led this Bucks team that, as I mentioned, has dealt with a lot of ups and downs personnel-wise, he is deserving of the MVP award. And I hope that voters have kind of gotten over their whole voter fatigue thing, because that is something that kind of plagues the NBA sometimes, where players, after winning an MVP award or 2, guys kind of stop recognizing them as much because they're like, he's gotten his recognition a couple years ago, we'll give it to someone else. No, stop. Don't do that. Giannis deserves the MVP. It's kind of like the whole LeBron thing, where LeBron hasn't won an MVP in forever, yet he's always been considered the best player in the league for the last 10, 12, 15 seasons or so. You could decide. I'm not going to give you a number, but it's just kind of that scenario where LeBron, he's so dominant for so long, we recognize he's the best player in the league, but he didn't win a lot of MVPs. He could have probably won a lot more. Don't let that happen to Giannis. Recognize him for his MVPs, maybe even a defensive player of the year. We'll see, but I kind of just wanted to make this video praising Giannis because I feel like it's been a little bit since I've talked about him and the Bucks, and this ridiculously dominant win over the Golden State Warriors absolutely warranted a video of me talking about it. As I mentioned, other guys on the Bucks also had good games: 23, 5, and 7 from Chris Middleton, 15 from Grayson Allen, who was a steal of a pickup. Just a great game for the Bucks, getting a big win, and Giannis is the MVP as of right now. Moving on from that, of course, I'm going to talk about the Thunder game. I'm rocking my Shea City Edition shirt right now. It was a big game for him. After having that 8-point game against the Denver Nuggets, one of the worst games of his time as a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Of course, the game that I went to, which kind of, continues the whole cone curse thing, because while I was there, he scored a combined 20 points in his 2 games. But Since those 2 games, Shai has bounced back in a big way. 32 points against the Washington Wizards and 33, 10, and 9, 1 assist short of a 30-point triple-double tonight against the Brooklyn Nets. We beat them by 21 points as well. Shai had, I think it was 16 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists after the first quarter. He was unstoppable. This has been the best that he's looked all season, these past 2 games, and it's the Shai that I saw all last season that I know, while he's been kind of slumping a little bit here and there, and he's kind of struggled to find his rhythm at times with kind of a weaker roster than compared to last season. Shai is still that guy. He's still an incredible player, and the way that he was just cooking the Nets alive. Like, if you don't have, not even just a good, but if you don't have a great rim protector, Shai is just going to attack the basket over and over and over again, and he's going to make you pay every single time. Whether it's a left-hand scoop layup, he's just so good. Sometimes I even think he's a lefty with the way that he shoots that scoop layup so well. Whether it's kind of a 360 in traffic to get it up and in, whether it's he took like contact on like the hip and still floated it up and in, banked it in after doing like a ridiculous behind the back crossover. Shai's bag is just unlimited, and the moves that he makes, how smooth his game is, he is unguardable when he is on like this. And these are the games that I expect Shai's gonna have a lot more of as we continue going in the season, because it feels like he's finally finding his rhythm like fully. And even his 3-point shot has looked good over these last couple games. He is 3 for 7, I believe, which, isn't like 50% or anything, but that's a pretty good mark for a guy who's really struggled with it this season. He's finding his groove. He even hit that step back 3 that's kind of been off and on over the course of this season. In this one, he finally got a catch and shoot 3, which he shoots at really well percentage of. Like, he makes a lot of those, but he doesn't get that chance super often. So it was good to see Shai really ball out and hit a couple of those 3s. Lou Dort also at 27. When Lou Dort plays James Harden, he is a top 5 player of all time. I don't care what you say. And Josh Giddey had 19, 3 rebounds, and 7 assists. Lou Dort, Shai, and Giddey are kind of the 3 guys that right now, when you look at this roster, are the guys that we're looking to build around, and they combined for 79 points tonight. 79. This was by far the best game they have played as a trio. You throw in Darius Bazley with 16 points, 5 rebounds, and just a great effort off the bench. Only 20 minutes. 14 from Mike Muscala, who made all 4 of his 3-point attempts. Trey Mann with 7, 8, and 4, and some ridiculous dribble moves. Like, his step back is lethal, and he's only a rookie. Aaron Wiggins 9, 6, and 2. This was probably the Thunder's best comprehensive team game of the season. I know the Nets were shorthanded. Lou Dort did a good job of clamping up James Harden. He scored 26, but it was on super inefficient shooting. Cam Thomas is a bucket. He got 21. So the Nets were missing Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, LaMarcus Aldridge. They were missing some guys, but overall, just the Thunder blowing them out like this is super cool to see. And seeing the big 3 guys in Shai, Dort, and Giddey really ball out is super fun as a Thunder fan. So a lot of question marks have kind of come up as, can you build around these 3 guys as a core? Like, is that trio going to work? And I am 100%, of course, a believer in that. We'll see who we add to them in the draft, whether it's with 1 pick or 2 lottery picks. We'll see how the Clippers do. Like I mentioned, they got blown out, but hopefully they're picks in the lottery. And finally, the Minnesota Timberwolves losing to the Memphis Grizzlies. Grizzlies have won 11 in a row. John Morant struggled in this one, only 16 points. He started off really rough, I believe 1 of 7 shooting. He did have 8 boards and 9 assists, so overall, pretty decent game, but not the game that you typically see from John Morant, and that was because Jaren Jackson Jr. had 20, Desmond Bane had 21, and the guy of the night, John Konchar, with 15, 17 boards and 3 assists, hitting a clutch 3 at the end to really kind of put this game on ice. He's just a really fun role player, and he's a big example of the way that this Grizzlies team, as I mentioned in my video, praising the Grizzlies, they just have this like huge next man up mentality. You could have John Morant could have like a 5-point game, and I would still think the Grizzlies have a pretty good shot of winning because just of how great this team plays basketball as a unit. If one guy has an off game, the other guy steps up, or even if like one guy struggles, 4 guys step up. The Grizzlies just they have this way of when they're missing guys or when guys aren't playing up to the par that they typically do, other guys go, okay, it's my time to shine. I need to do this or I need to do that. They just know their role so well, and they're just a great team. I made a whole video talking about the Grizzlies. If you want to see it, go check it out. I think it was 2 videos ago. But once again, need to praise them. As for the Timberwolves, this is not a loss you really want to take. When you have Anthony Edwards putting up 30, Karl Anthony Towns putting up 25, and D'Lo putting up 29, you expect to win these games. Jared Vanderbilt had 8 and 13. He was solid. But overall, Beverly 3, Beasley 3, McDaniels 4, Naz Reid 4, Taurean Prince 2. Not a lot of offense. They missed Jalen Noel, who's been really solid for them off the bench. But overall, this was just kind of a poor performance outside of the Timberwolves' big three. And in the end, the Grizzlies, one of the more clutch and one of the better teams in the league, get the win on this one. They're now at 30-14, which is ridiculous. As I mentioned, 11 straight. Grizzlies keep rolling, and the Timberwolves continue to be kind of inconsistent. So those are my thoughts on the games for today. Let me know what your favorite performance was. Let me know if you agree with me that Giannis's dominance has kind of become normalized and that he deserves the MVP award as of today. Do you think the Bucks can repeat? Will the Golden State Warriors and Steph Curry bounce back, or are they kind of slipping a little bit? And yeah, if you made it to this point in the video, drop a Giannis is the MVP in the comment section below to let me know that you made it to the end. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I appreciate y'all watching. I will see you all later. Real one.